The Dallas Cowboys should not be allowed to keep doing this. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. Alright, so getting to the first story, the Dallas Cowboys will trade with the Las Vegas Raiders for Max Crosby after Micah Parsons' injury. Now the 2024 NFL season is underway, and there have been shifts with teams already. Teams with the title hopes and rosters have seen fluctuations in their lineup due to injuries already so far in the season, making trades important to keep their trajectory going. For other teams, they need to be making trade with their outlook being a rebuild. Those teams include the Dallas Cowboys and Las Vegas Raiders. The Cowboys are currently 2-2 after securing a 2015 win over the New York Giants. The 2024 season is one where the Cowboys must succeed, as the seat is getting warm for Mike McCarthy after both losses came from the New Orleans Saints and Baltimore Ravens. The Cowboys needed to beat the Giants, yet it wasn't necessarily a dominant victory, and in the process of it lost Micah Parsons to an injury as he was carted off the field. With the staple Parsons is on defense, Dallas can't afford a dip in their edge play and must make a trade to ensure they don't see a setback in production. That's where the Las Vegas Raiders do come in, however. As it currently stands, the Raiders are on a trajectory to be major sellers by the trade deadline. The Las Vegas Raiders doesn't currently have their franchise quarterback on their roster and need to be looking to turn the team around, and they can do so by getting enough draft capital to ensure that they get the best quarterback. That might just mean trading Max Crosby. Now, when it comes to Crosby, we actually see that while Crosby has been a leader for the Raiders, he would be someone for a team like the Cowboys that would give up a major draft capital for. With Crosby, he is only 26 and has accumulated 387 pressures with 62 sacks and 217 stops over 6 seasons. On top of that, the type of force that would keep the production stable on the Dallas defensive line if Parsons is to miss time, or give Dallas a talented rotation between Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Crosby to create a consistent havoc from edge position for the long haul. Now, on top of that, the Dallas Cowboys are one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL with a 1-2 record. Although Jerry Jones gave a boost to the franchise with contract extensions for Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, the controversial owner didn't make moves for the other side of the ball. The defense has been terrible, allowing 72 points in 2 consecutive games at home. Furthermore, running backs like Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry took advantage of how weak is this unit to stop any threat on the ground. Right now, with the Super Bowl as an unrealistic goal, the Cowboys have no margin of error if they want to make the playoffs. Their schedule is really tough with teams on the horizon such as Steelers, Lions, and 49ers. Mike Zimmer took over as a defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys after Dan Quinn's left America's team to become the head coach of the Washington Commanders. However, during the first weeks of the offseason, Rex Ryan emerged as a huge first option for Jerry Jones, but it didn't happen. Now, in an interview with ESPN Radio, the former head coach of the Jets explained why he rejected the Cowboys. "I could have fixed the Cowboys defense in a New York minute, but that being said, they couldn't pony up the money or I would have been there. You brought in a guy that was 29th in the league his last 2 seasons at Minnesota. The enthusiasm he brings when he left, that's a guy that's going to inspire you. This can really go bad for Dallas." So it was an interesting story nonetheless. Alright, with NFL Sunday almost here, we got some great money to put on the Atlanta Falcons. I do believe they are going to be able to come out with the win on this one. So we're going to be putting $50 on this bad boy to potentially win $37.04. And this is on BetUS. Now, guys, make sure, check out BetUS. They have a 150% bonus on your first deposit and then 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. So we're going to be confirming that bet right there, just like that, and we are good to go on BetUS, and the total win could be $37, which I think is fantastic. But like I mentioned, guys, 150% bonus on your first deposit and then 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Definitely go check them out. The second story is that the Cowboys hold off NFC East rival Giants in a defensive battle. Entering Thursday night's game, the New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys shared last place in the NFC East with 1-2 game behind the 2-1 Washington Commanders and Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys scored 2 first-half touchdowns and limited the Giants to 3 field goals to lead 14-9 at the half. It was a defensive battle the rest of the way, as neither team scored a touchdown in the second half. Dallas picked up its second win of the season with a final score of 20-15, but star edge rusher Micah Parsons was carted off the field late in the game with a left ankle/foot injury. He said afterward that x-rays were negative and he will get an MRI on Friday. Giants rookie receiver Malik Neighbors also exited the game in the fourth quarter after suffering a concussion. Here are the most important things to know from those games. Now, Dak Prescott did not speak to the media prior to Thursday's game against the Giants, and he said he would speak post-win. The Cowboys got the win, but it wasn't artistic beauty. However, after Dallas was embarrassed in back-to-back home losses to the New Orleans Saints and Baltimore Ravens, the only thing that mattered was getting a win on a short week. Being 2-2 is so much better than 1-3. Had the Cowboys lost, it would have been marked by the first time they lost 3 September games since 2001, and they would have been in last place in the NFC East. Prescott was sharp, especially in the first half with touchdown passes to CeeDee Lamb and Rico Dowdle. The defense finally stopped the run and stiffened in the red zone, holding the Giants to 5 field goals. Prescott has now won 13 straight against the Giants, and his last loss came in 2016 as a rookie. He tied the second longest win streak by a quarterback after a single opponent since quarterback stats were first tracked in 1950. Tom Brady beat the Buffalo Bills 13 straight times from 2003 to 2010, and Steve Young beat the Rams 13 straight from 1987 to 1998. Prescott will now get a chance at number 14 on Thanksgiving. When Lamb was from the sideline issues, the best seems to come out of him. During last year's loss at San Francisco, Lamb kept to himself on the sideline and then followed with 6 games with at least 11 catches and 7 games with more than 100 yards, which was honestly insane. In the last week's loss to New Orleans, Lamb had a spat with Prescott and did not speak to the media after the game. On Tuesday, Lamb was apologetic and said he would do better. In the first half alone, he had 6 catches for 94 yards and also a touchdown, which was both the season highs. Brandon Aubrey has played 21 games for the Cowboys and has 3 field goals of 60 yards in his career, including a 60-yard in the third quarter against the Giants. On top of this, that's one of the NFL's record held by Brett Maher, who made 4 with the Cowboys. On top of this, when it comes to that, Aubrey made a 60-yarder last week against the Ravens, and he is 2-2 from 60 yards this season. The rest of the league is 0 of 2 according to ESPN research as well. Now, the Cowboys will have 10 days to get ready for the presently undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, and this time will help because there is still a lot that needs to be corrected. On top of this, when we also look further, even with the win, in the past 3 games, opposing quarterbacks have missed on only 19 passes against the Saints and Ravens, and that was understandable because both teams were so dominant on the run. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones had too much time to throw much for the game after previously being tormented by the Cowboys, who sacked him 24 times in 8 games prior to Thursday. Oh, and there was a penalized 9 times in the first half alone. So the third story is that pressure escalates for NFL to make changes following Cowboys-Giants game. Now, through Thursday night football matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants was very entertaining. It was greatly struggled to ever find a consistent rhythm thanks to the referees. Fortunately, this at least went for both teams, as they both saw a ton of flags thrown on their offensive drives. That said, despite the constant game breaks, both offenses played well, playing a clean game throughout. The Cowboys would go on to a 20-15 win thanks to a strong effort from CeeDee Lamb. Even so, fans were extremely frustrated with the refs throughout the game, as any unreal amount of penalties were called. Even with the announcers, Kirk Hesbritt and Al Michaels were roasting the refs after the absurd number of flags thrown in the first half. In addition to the announcers calling out the refs, a large number of fans took to Twitter, or X, to voice their frustration with poor officiating. Refs are making the sports unwatchable, said one fan, with another adding that the refs are trash. Other fans chimed in saying these refs are slowing down the game and that the refs are also ruining it. It's clear that fans are fed up with how much the refs impact these games, even in games that were called relatively evenly. Not allowing either team to actually find a rhythm is just not acceptable. Hopefully they listen to the fans, but it does seem that the NFL are looking for ways to actually stop this and also control this to the best of their ability. Now, on top of that, when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, here are some of the injury updates from some of the players from that game. Now, in a victorious locker room Thursday night to 2 Dallas Cowboys, All-Pro Micah Parsons said x-rays on his left foot and ankle were negative and that he'll learn more about his short-term availability when he undergoes an MRI on Friday. Meanwhile, DeMarcus Lawrence said he'll be okay after leaving the game game in the third quarter with a foot injury. Lawrence indicated that may have been able to return Thursday night despite pain in his foot, and said the injury was not related to any previous ailment. The injury Parsons suffered in the closing minutes of Thursday's game seemed the most serious. He rolled around the field in pain after a Giants lineman fell onto his lower left leg during a third down stop with a little more than 3 minutes remaining in the game. After a brief evaluation in the sideline medical tent, Parsons left the field on the back of a cart. Parsons' left ankle was heavily taped in the locker room and he walked with a prominent limp, but he was able to put some weight on his foot, and the negative x-rays provide hope that the injury won't leave him sidelined for long. Right now, I just iced it, Parsons said. I know very little. I got an MRI tomorrow and I'm going to try to get back and play next week, hopefully. Lawrence left the game in the third quarter, but returned to the sideline with his helmet in hand. His injury does not appear likely to keep him out for a significant period of time, if at all.